Hello, it's Hunterhexin here. Today I will be discussing the dungeons of Breath of the Wild 2 again. In one of my previous videos I discussed the first 3 dungeons of Breath of the Wild 2. Check it out, by the way, linked in the description. But in most Zelda games there are 3 starter dungeons, and then 4 to 8 more dungeons, and then sometimes a big final dungeon. Since the last video was on the starter dungeons, this one will be on the mid and end game dungeons. This part of the video won't make any sense if you don't watch my first part with the first 3 dungeons. So after Link and Zelda get help from the Leviathans, they go up to the floating castle, which might be a mini dungeon or its 4th and first linear dungeon. But after you and Zelda beat the dungeon and the boss that's not Ganondorf, you will learn that it was a trap and a waste of time. When Link and Zelda were busy taking down the dungeon, Ganon sends out monsters from other dungeons to siege the rest of Hyrule, and Link and Zelda's first priority would be to help people of Hyrule, and Ganon would play them like puppets as he orchestrates you to take down the dungeons of Hyrule before the final encounter with him. Now, where are and what are these dungeons going to be? I'll start with the easy guesses. Since the Zelda team are reusing the same map from Breath of the Wild, they'll need to give you more of a reason to explore and more places to explore. Now, in my last video I discussed they could do that part potentially with the time shift stones, but another very popular theory, which almost every theorist has gone over, is that Breath of the Wild 2 could have underwater exploration, which would make, the game way more entertaining. And I think that there could be 1 or 2 water-themed dungeons in the sea, maybe even a dungeon under Lake Hylia, just like an Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess. After how prominent the 7/8 heroines were in Breath of the Wild, we are sure to be seeing something to do with them, like at least they shouldn't stay the same. And in the in-game description in Breath of the Wild, it does say that a race of people that lives in the Highland Mountains do worship the statue, and the only people that live up there are the Yiga clan. And they'll also almost have a bigger role and maybe even a bigger base in Breath of the Wild 2. And that bigger base could be a dungeon hidden behind the 8th heroine statue. And since Ganon is loose, he can grow the Yiga clan from some evil banana-loving crooks. The next likely spot for a dungeon, at least I think, is the Akala Citadel. It is already a hard-to-conquer fortress in Breath of the Wild. But if we get access to the inside, there will be more monsters, potentially a boss, and some of the monsters might be able to use the cannons and armor and stuff within the Akala Citadel. And maybe the reason you're doing it, because you want to help the people of Hyrule, is that there is the nearby town of Tarrytown, and the Akala Citadel can definitely shoot its cannons far enough to hit Tarrytown. So you might be stopping it. Like, you need to go defeat the Akala Citadel before all the cannons, so that all the cannons stop hitting Tarrytown, and then you can do some side quests after you beat the dungeon at Tarrytown. Another good option, which most people don't agree with, is that the area around the Korok Forest, the swampy area, which has a tower already and is decently hard to get to. But the main reason that I think it could be a dungeon is that a ton of swampy areas around it, they have a ton of skulls, including this one ginormous unique skull, which could be the boss of the dungeon, which you have to use the time shift stones on. And for whatever, I'm not sure if you do it on accident or how they would get you to activating the boss battle and why, but they'll figure it out some way. Then, the final dungeon, I don't really know. It might be the Great Plateau. I don't really have any ideas. I don't think it'll be Hyrule Castle again. That's why I thought the Hyrule Castle would be like the 4th dungeon or mini dungeon earlier in the theory. Do you think my theory is possible? Do you have any other ideas on how, like, where some other dungeons might be? Write them in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out my part 1 video of this, and I'll see you later.